next. So that is definitely next in line for that to cross over into Scott County, included in that tornado warning into Hewitt as well. Then we also have that cutting across Robbins next to New River and up into Scott County. I know in Wynota, for example, you guys have heavy rain and frequent lightning now. This is the tornado warning that's on the way. So you don't have that rotation indication here, but you do have a nasty storm already sitting overhead. And then we're getting into that potential for that rotation to roll across Scott County next and up into Campbell County. So that's where we're keeping an eye on that isolated but intense storm that is showing that rotation potential. So we continue to keep an eye on that as it continues to track across Morgan County to Scott County, trailing behind a couple of other storms with that rotation potential. So as we zoom back in here, we'll keep an eye on any of the details of this storm. So I want to keep an eye on that area right here as we're looking at that northern part of Morgan County. If you have loved ones there, make sure that ahead of these storms, you know where your safe place is. Like I said, the lowest level of your home away from windows, basement, a great choice, but also make sure you have a way to stay informed. If you lose TV signal, if your cell phone's not charged, got to know a weather radio, kind of have all of those laid out and ready to go on days like today, as this particular storm is an example of that, with that tornado warning until 6 p.m. The rotation still spinning up just a bit. You can see they've kind of tightened up that box a bit. So that's where they're trying to update it. So we'll go ahead and check on that update for you here. Again, that tornado warning that we're monitoring for you with that WVLT First Alert Weather Day continuing. That is going to continue up into Scott County and then to Campbell County. So they just tightened up the edges here to keep us really kind of focused on the area of concern. And that is up Highway 27. If you or loved ones travel that, maybe you know somebody who works in Wartburg and they didn't get this notification because it's GPS based, make sure they are aware in case they're going to drive right into get one of these notifications. You want to make sure you get into a safe place, a building, and get off those roads, as we do have that continuing. Then Highway 27 veers up into Scott County, and that's where that storm is basically traveling across over into Scott County as well for that next 40 minutes. On the live radar, again, we're keeping an eye on this severe storm, possible rotation there. That radar is definitely indicating that rotation in Morgan County. Actually, Ben, you're getting a scan of that. You want to talk a little bit more about what you're seeing in the heart of that storm?
Yeah, what we're doing is looking into the heart of this storm with one of our tools here, and it does appear to be a little bit of a drop-off, so hopefully no debris. But it looks like the heart of the circulation is on the north side of Deer Lodge, right in the Huffman community. So that is really in Huffman, and then especially over to Glen Mary, Hewitt, Robbins up next, just across the line into Scott County, where you want to be in your safe place. So right about here on your screen is where the center of that circulation is. And look, this is one of our first severe weather risks for the year, so I want to talk about what to do in the event that you find yourself in a tornado warning later on. So we'll look into the house again. You want to get away from as much glass as possible, as interior with as many walls between you and the outside as possible, avoiding those windows. What I like to do is turn the TV up really loud so that you can hear Heather and I, because we'll give you the all clear. And then if you have shoes nearby, get those on, because if glass breaks, which is a possibility, I don't want you to cut your feet. And then also get underground if you can. So green is a good thing. And what we're looking at overall is this WVLT First Alert continuing until midnight. Just entering that time frame. There is that tornado watch, which doesn't include the counties currently under the warning, but still that threat of it. So here's the wide view as we reset here at 5:19. This is rolling into Scott County in the next couple of minutes, right around Deer Lodge and Huffman over to Hewitt. And this is what we're looking at. Kind of a wider view as I put a track on this, as this moves to the northeast at about 55 miles an hour. So that's just 54 miles. Sunbright right on your doorstep over to Norma. La Follette by 556. Log Mountain, that's up into Campbell County, not too far from the Duff community at 607. And then Powell Valley, that's extending even further down Highway 63. So let's look inside this storm one more time as the center of circulation, it appeared to weaken just a little bit as we come in a little bit tighter near Deer Lodge. So again, in Deer Lodge, I want you to be in your safe place now. Glades community, you are just in the clear for that, but generally speaking, we are not. Sunbright over to Burrville, right into Glen Mary. That is where the heavier pockets of rain are moving right now, and that is where the center of that tornado warning threat is. So Huffman to Glen Mary to Hewitt, over to Robbins, Cordell, Winona, places that Heather's been mentioning, Norma, over towards Buckeye. If we extrapolate this out, then Terry Creek, Turley should stay on the north side of block, but I want you to monitor this carefully. And then into Elk Valley, that's over into Campbell County, and then eventually this I-75 corridor. So just to recap, tornado warning, that means there is an ongoing and imminent threat of a tornado touchdown. This is until 6 o'clock, although it's possible that it could be dropped a little bit early. I'm going to look at if we've got any new updates here. And newsroom folks in the back, let me know if you've seen that. We're seeing over 50 knots of rotation over Sunbright, so still that potential tornado, though no confirmation yet. Again, we are seeing a little bit of that more yellow color, which I don't love to see here. But inside the storm, Hewitt, Deer Lodge, and the circulation right here, that is definitely strengthening a little bit as we look inside the storm. The Doppler part of Doppler radar doesn't have a classic look, but Sunbright, you need to be in your safe place right now. That goes for Huffman and Glen Mary. Robbins, you want to be putting on those shoes, getting your pets ready to go to your safe place, which we just talked about where that was, as this will cross into Scott County in a matter of minutes. If you're just joining us, maybe you're in this area and your friends and family said, hey, you need to turn on WVLT. Let's show you the track as this moves to the northeast at 50 or so. So it's in Sunbright basically right now. Norma, that's near the I-75. There's a T-Dot garage there right off the highway and the truck stop. Block at 547, La Follette at 555. So that's 33 minutes away, but it is moving pretty fast and log mounted. Let's get back over to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley to see what she is tracking.
Obviously, we're hyper-focused on this tornado warning. So I want to point out that we do have this trail of lightning. Meteorologist Jacob Durham is also here behind the scenes. We were just looking at some of our communication with the National Weather Service and even some of the winds that are moving against each other here. There's a lot of indication that this is definitely making it to the ground. So again, when we talk about radar indicated, I know it can be harder to see when you're getting some heavy rain and frequent lightning around it, but you can see the trail of lightning is out ahead of the actual rotation. So again, for those of you in North Campbell County and really even into Scott County, you already have some strong storms out ahead of the actual rotation. So make sure that you're kind of keeping in line with what's happening now versus what's on the way. So make sure you take this back edge very seriously, because again, that's where we have that tornado warning issued. Now, officially that rotation is starting to cross over the Scott County line. So again, this warning is until 6 p.m. So you've still got the heart of that rotation sitting right there in Morgan County, coming over into Scott with that leading edge of excessive rainfall and frequent lightning. Can definitely start dumping some hail after you get over here into this back edge of that rotation, and that's going to continue to cross up into Scott County. So that's where we're seeing that indication there next, and that's why you have that heavy rain and lightning ahead of it. So I just don't want that to fool you into thinking this back edge is actually the point of concern. So big picture, again, a lot of you are quiet, I know that. But this is what we were talking about with getting some nasty storms to cut across the plateau first, and then more storms have to come up into our area for the rest of our region. So extremely important there. Sorry.
I was going to say, somebody just messaged in the chat that we got a call from 540 Pilot Mountain with a possible touchdown with debris.
Pilot Mountain, possible touchdown with debris. So that's extremely important. You can see actually they're tightening up the box again here. So let's take a close look at the latest on the tornado warning. Again, Pilot Mountain, possible touchdown with debris. So that's extremely important there. As we go into the latest on this tornado warning, let's look at this really quick. We do have that continuing to move up into Scott County. Again, coming out of Morgan County and headed towards Campbell County. So extremely important to keep that in mind. As a reminder, you want to make sure that you're getting to the lowest level of your home away from windows. So that's the important safe place when it comes to seeking shelter. Ben's trying to get my attention here. Ben, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, Pilot Mountain, that is right between Annandale and Sunbright off Highway 27. So that is right in the area that we were just looking at. We'll look a little bit closer in here, and that is the area that we were just looking. So this is near the Pilot Mountain Baptist Church, right off of Rock Creek and US Highway 27. And basically halfway between Annandale and Sunbright, right in the area that we were just tracking, just to the east of Deer Lodge. So that continues to move out over some fairly rural area over towards the Llewellyn Cemetery, Sexton Cemetery and over towards the Cumberland Trails, just to the north of the Bunch Cemetery and north of Fork Mountain. So kind of some smaller landmarks in that area. Let's send it back over to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley.
Yeah, continuing to keep an eye on the latest here with that storm cell, the heart of that rotation right here on the Morgan-Scott line and continuing to move northeast. So extremely important to keep in mind as we're keeping an eye on these storms for you that we do have that rotation indication and then really starting to get some confirmation on the ground, as Ben was just highlighting the location of that as it continues up into Scott County. So as we continue to keep an eye on that for you, I just want to stress that you want to make sure that you are using caution. This is one of those storms that we can actually take a 3D scan of it here and get an idea of the height of that storm. So when we're getting up here into that rotation, this is where it's getting upwards of 30,000 feet. So it's spinning up and then it's dumping down. That's where it grabs that hail. It really forms that hail and then dumps it down as well. So that's extremely important there as we continue to keep an eye on this view of this thunderstorm that is rotating over Morgan County. So as we continue to keep an eye on that, that is where we are monitoring this system for you as it continues to roll across our area. That's where we have that severe thunderstorm potentially rotating, that confirmation on the ground. Jacob, you got something as well?
Yeah, from the National Weather Service in Morristown, they just posted in our Weather Service chat, we see a signature for a possible tornado debris being observed by radar just to the northwest of Sunbright.
Yeah, so that's exactly where we've been zoomed in on, keeping an eye on that for you here. So coming out of Sunbright now into Scott County. So obviously what that means for those of you in this area, that just means that this radar is definitely indicating what is starting to look confirmed on the ground. Obviously, the confirmation officially comes from the National Weather Service, then they go out after the fact and assess damage. But right now, all indications are this is a tornado on the ground that'll then move northeast at about 55 miles per hour towards Huntsville, Norma, then Elk Valley to La Follette. So that's extremely important to keep that in mind as they continue to kind of refresh this tornado warning for you for Morgan to Scott County. And we continue to keep an eye on that for you as well. So that's coming right there, right along that line. Highway 27 I've been pointing out as it comes up into Scott County now, coming out of Morgan County. So the heart of that storm, heavy rain, frequent lightning, then it wraps around, it starts to create that rotation, and that's what I was just showing you in that 3D scan, where it kind of scoops up and creates that hail and then dumps it back down in that storm as it continues through. So you've got the heavy rain and lightning out ahead of that rotating storm, of that tornado warning, again until 6 p.m., 30 more minutes there, cutting across Scott County. So kind of tightening up that edge there. The heart of this storm is definitely more of a concern when it comes to this central part of Scott County towards I-75 of Campbell County. I want to stress that. So let's take a look at that track here, because that'll give you kind of a better idea what I mean in terms of focusing on that kind of fine line of where that's headed. So that's going to continue to move northeast. I've got to get out of my own way here. It's going to continue to move northeast at about 55 miles per hour, excuse me. So that's important to keep that in mind as it's moving pretty fast. As it moves up to the northeast at 55, that means Winona, you've got that coming your way here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Elk Valley 613 on that front edge to back edge, and then Newcomb around 6:30. So make sure that if you are in Scott County, if you have loved ones in Scott County, if you're in Campbell County next, that is where that is headed. So you want to make sure that you're getting to the lowest level of your home away from windows. Extremely important here, and in a severe thunderstorm, and especially in a rotating storm, because that means it's able to kind of grab up a little bit more debris as that is headed towards Scott County to Norma to Elk Valley next. Again, big picture as these storms continue along this northwest corner of our area. Quiet for most of East Tennessee, and then we have that tornado warning right there coming across Scott County now, moving out of Morgan County basically now. But that does mean that that storm is headed across Campbell County next. So that is where we continue to see that moving quickly. Now, obviously, giving it more of that extended track does mean that, well, it would go all the way up into Kentucky. What that means for you, though, is that you would want to know that the storm has had a history of rotation. It's obviously been a potent storm. So at the very least, coming across Scott County, you're included in the actual warning until 6 p.m., the next 30 minutes. For Buckeye, that's 546 coming over into Campbell County. Again, right now you're not included in the tornado warning in Buckeye to Elk Valley, but that storm, that rotating storm right now, that potential tornado is headed your way. Powell Valley, it'll be around 6:19 coming over into Claiborne County here and headed over into Middlesboro by 6:30. So that's why we always want to track that out and give you plenty of heads up before a storm crosses over into your county, especially when it has that history of rotating like we're seeing right now. Again, a tornado warning until 6 p.m. coming out of Morgan County, moving across Scott County right now, and then headed towards Campbell County here as that storm is likely to cut across north of La Follette up I-75, really between Jellicoe, La Follette area. This northern half of town would be where you're more concerned as we continue to keep an eye on this storm. So that's where we can see that trail of lightning. I want to indicate that or point that out to you because that is just showing you that it is very noisy, and then you've got that rotation hidden behind all of this thunder and lightning. So extremely important to keep that in mind as it continues to move northeast in that trail of lightning. I know Ben's keeping an eye on this. Ben, you see you're kind of scanning the inner workings of this storm. What are you seeing?
Yeah, now a confirmed tornado, and we're seeing video on Facebook, which unfortunately we just can't show you yet. We have to download it and get permission to use it, but there's clearly a funnel cloud and appears to be a touchdown right in the Sunbright area. This is where we're actually seeing damage. This is an ultra clear sign of debris lofted up into the air. That's between Rugby, beautiful community there with the old Victorian homes, Robbins, Glen Mary. This is the center of the circulation is trending more north-northeast now. So Robbins, you've got to be in your safe place here at 5:32 for the next few minutes. Then towards Huntsville, but that is the inner workings of the storm, and it has the clearest sign yet of the classic kind of tornado signature, which we call the hook. So right over Hewitt, over towards Norma. I want to give you kind of some of the smaller areas near here. Smoky Road Trailhead, the Burgess Creek Cemetery, the Hurricane Ridge Lodge, Norma. We've got Nicks Creek Missionary Baptist Church, Beach Fork Baptist Church. This is heading off of Highway 297 towards Norma Road and over towards Elgin, Newport Cemetery, the Jurgen Cemetery, and then over towards those Gap Creek cabins, Trinity Baptist Church, a couple of local landmarks, and then New River as this makes its way into central parts of Scott County. Again, this is now a confirmed tornado. This is the inner workings of that. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the radar. So we got a brand new alert here to show you for this tornado warning and an ongoing confirmed tornado threat. This is what you need to do. Get inside to the lowest level of your home and away from the windows. This is tightening up. So right now the clearest indication yet of that. This is going until 6 o'clock now for just a tiny sliver of Morgan County. Part of it's been removed, which is why we got the update, heading right through the central or into the central parts of Scott County and then onward towards Campbell. This is still moving a pretty good clip to the northeast at about 55 miles an hour. If you're just joining us, that confirmed tornado, we just saw a video on Facebook, which we're working to turn around for you, of that funnel cloud in and around Sunbright, now heading towards Norma within the next 15 minutes. That's plenty of time to get your plan in place. Buckeye, La Follette, yes, this is a rural area, but yes, there are people in this area. That's why we're continuing to alert you and keep you informed so that you can stay safe. Robbins up next. You are under that. I do want to take a really quick wide view because some of you I know are at home saying, what about us, right? This is really the only game in town right now. But the next few hours, especially closer to 8 o'clock, we'll have storms moving back in towards Knoxville. Let's get back over to our chief meteorologist, Heather Haley, with the update.
Yeah, we obviously want to be hyper-focused on this active severe storm, especially since even from the National Weather Service saying this is likely causing considerable damage. Even the hail indications are moving upwards of 1.5 inches. So you've got not only your heavy rain and frequent lightning. I had to remove the lightning so you could see the heart of this rotation in that storm, but then that also means you've got hail that could cause damage in addition to the fact that you have those rotating winds moving northeast, that possible tornado on the ground. So all indications are that this is rotating. This has been moving from Morgan County. That's where it really spun up, and now it's moving across into Scott County. So important to hear to kind of get your head wrapped around where we are northwest of Anderson County. We're now coming out of Morgan County into Scott. It's moving northeast across Campbell County as well. Ben was just putting a track on that for you here. So I want to take some close looks at the neighborhoods, the communities that we are talking here, so you can kind of get a better idea of exactly who needs to be seeking shelter, because you can see we're right now in between Robbins and Hewitt coming out of Glen Mary with that rotation. So that's where it's going to keep moving northeast. As it does so, that's where we want to continue to focus on Norma, for example. That's going to be coming right along Norma. That's going to be moving from Slick Rock, a Hewitt, right there at your neck of the woods, and coming by into Burville area. I'll turn this off so you can see a little bit better as it comes across by Huntsville as well. So this is sliding up across that line in Scott County. This is the Campbell County line then. So right now that warning is including Scott County. Notice the warning officially stops before it enters this part of Campbell County as that storm moves north-northeast at 55 miles per hour. So that's where we're monitoring it to actually track this way. So I want to stress that then that means Buckeye to Elk Valley, you would be in that line. I know you have heavy rain and frequent lightning in your neck of the woods, but then in terms of the actual rotating storm, the actual likely tornado on the ground, as we're getting more and more confirmation from the ground, plus you've got that 1.5 inch hail that they're getting indications for from the National Weather Service as well. So that's extremely important as that continues to move northeast then towards Elk Valley and then likely on to Newcomb to Habersham to Log Mountain. Again, that is where it could be extended. So that's where the National Weather Service is monitoring that storm itself with that lightning indications out ahead of it and then the actual tornado warning there. Once I remove that lightning, you can better see. So that's where the heart of that 1.5 inch hail and that rotation is sitting currently in really central Scott County, south of Oneida, moving north-northeast. So that means it's going to continue to track really towards the Tennessee-Kentucky line over the next hour. So important to keep that in mind, that while Campbell to Bell, to Whitley, to Claiborne County, you're not included in that warning in this direction. That is where we're keeping an eye on that path of what at least has been a rotating storm, at least a very nasty storm headed your way, if the National Weather Service doesn't continue that tornado warning. But in the very least, Elk Valley, you've got this storm headed your way just before 6. So that is as it's exiting Scott County into Campbell County as that warning wraps up. So right now the National Weather Service is focused on the central part of that storm again, where I was just zoomed in and focused on those communities. Then it would head towards areas like Log Mountain closer to 6:15, Powell Valley closer to 6:30. So just wanted to stress that that's the direction that that tornado is going, and all indications are that it is rotating on the ground as it definitely spun up over Morgan County, and we're starting to get some reports of that. And then we've also got those reports of that 1.5 inch hail. So when it becomes severe, it has to be inch hail, so it's going above and beyond that severe threshold with that 1.5 inch potential there for that hail that's fallen to the ground there in Scott County. So that's important to keep that in mind as we do have that tornado warning again. Some of the fresh scans still trying to analyze this. Looks interesting as it's starting to move across this terrain change of Scott County. So seeing that kind of that hook not look as textbook anymore. So that is an interesting transition to see that here with that tornado warning continuing for another 20 minutes right now for Scott County, but by that 6 o'clock mark, that storm will be over into Campbell County as well, especially at the pace that it is moving. So again, that means it's moving up across Norma to then La Follette around 6 o'clock. So that's that transition over into Campbell County next, with the heart of that storm sitting right over Scott County right now. So that's where we're monitoring behind the scenes reports on the ground. We've got crews that are checking on damage as well. And then that's where we're keeping an eye on any reports if you have them, if you can safely check on things, right? Obviously do not go outside to check on things in the middle of a storm. After the fact, Morgan County, for example, if you're seeing some of that damage in Scott County, you want to make sure that you're in the lowest level of your home away from windows. Right? After the fact, after it's safe, that's where you can check on things. Obviously check on your loved ones, your neighbors as well at that point as we continue to monitor this storm. Again, Ben's keeping an eye on that rotation potential. So I want to check in on that too, because I think it's good to kind of compare what we're seeing on the live radar and what we're seeing in the inner workings of this storm.
Yeah, and there's still some tight circulation here as we get a brand new update on that. So let me show you what that is. In the meantime, the Morgan County 911 Center is saying multiple reports of damage in and around Sunbright. They're asking people, please stay off the roads as their emergency crews can get to that damage. I want to take you again, you want to seek shelter in the lowest part of your home, and we'll get an update on the newest tornado warning. So this is now dropped for, this is an important update, dropped for Campbell and Morgan, now rolling through Scott County. Still quite a bit of circulation inside that storm. I'm going to put the scope on here. We're going to look at the inner workings, but you see kind of where that tail is. We call that a hook echo because it looks like a fishing hook, and that is a clear sign, which we don't always have in East Tennessee because oftentimes these are rain wrapped. So the CC drop is gone, which is good news, but there's still some tight circulation. I want to get over to our meteorologist, Jacob Durham. Jacob, just tell me when you're ready because we do have some brand new video. I mentioned a couple minutes ago that we had some video. Let's get over to Jacob with the brand new video.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. As Heather, of course, and Ben been telling you coming up over the last couple of minutes, that this is a serious situation. It is a confirmed tornado per the National Weather Service, and this is some video shot by a viewer from the Sunbright community. You can see the clouds really whipping by. You've got the winds going back and forth very quickly as well. You can see some of that rotation as well. Now, it's hard to tell if this is the tornado actually on the ground, so that's something the National Weather Service will work towards as we head over the coming days to confirm, to make sure that it actually touched ground here in this particular video. But you can see some people outside. We highly suggest don't be outside during this particular storm. You need to seek shelter. Now's not the time to be out there cutting the grass and doing anything like that. But you can see the rotating clouds. You can see a little bit of debris flying as well there in the background. So this is a video coming in of a possible tornado in the Sunbright community with that same severe thunderstorm warning capable, that tornado warning, of course, that Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley has been presenting to you, as well as meteorologist Ben Kathy.
And of course, a good reminder, and always an important reminder, and when there is a tornado warning, especially when it gets to the lowest level of your home, away from windows. Can't stress that enough, as we do have that again. Jacob is just showing you the view from Morgan County. This warning is now for Scott County. This tornado, likely confirmed, we're getting all indications that it was on the ground for sure in Morgan County. So that was where it was further south and west. It is now tracked into Scott. That warning continues for another 15 minutes, but you can see where that hook, that rapid, that rotation is still sitting in Scott County. So I want to zoom in again on the communities that are highlighted here as we continue to zoom in on that storm. So you can kind of see where it's literally wrapping around, spinning around between Norma and Huntsville, northeast of Hewitt. So that's going to continue to move northeast. So you're getting that wraparound heavy rain and lightning as well around Huntsville to Winona. So I want to change my camera view here just so we can kind of zoom in on those counties, the communities, I should say, that are right over that. Cordell is literally in the center of that rotation around Winona to Cordell to Norma. So that's where we were just zoomed in a second ago. Now this would be coming over into the Campbell County line. So right now the warning is for Scott County only. So really, as long as this is rotating, the National Weather Service will likely extend that warning. Right now, again, there's heavy rain and frequent lightning out ahead of it, so that could help squash some of that energy. But obviously, we're still seeing what is basically the tail end of a string of storms that spun up into that rotation over Morgan, moved into Scott, is moving across Winona to Huntsville right now. Again, I want to get back on that center of rotation, Cordell, Winona to Huntsville in Scott County, moving northeast into Campbell County. So that is where right now the warning does not include Campbell, but something we're keeping an eye on for you. Buckeye to Terry Creek. We're seeing that come across Stanfield, and here we go. They just extended it. We do have that continuing into Campbell County now, that tornado warning, as I was just showing you, that we were tracking that over into Campbell County too. So really what we're doing is we're kind of drawing this box now at a bigger picture, as we do have that continuing now across Campbell County, I-75 to the Tennessee-Kentucky line, moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. So it's slowing down, but it's still trucking and it's still rotating. So that's where you're seeing this split. So that's where those winds are literally bumping into each other and creating that rotation on the radar, but that's also where it dumps hail. So that 1.5 inch hail, the considerable damage that we mentioned coming out of Morgan County into Scott County, headed towards Campbell County. So extremely important to keep that in mind as we do have that storm right now. Again, you want to make sure that if you've loved ones in Campbell County who may not be watching right now, if you've loved ones who are on the road headed home to Campbell County, please make sure they know not to drive into this. Wait. We want to make sure that we are not on the roads. We are in a home, in a secure home, lowest level away from windows, because that storm continues to move northeast. So zooming back out again, you can see the lightning and some rain out ahead of the actual rotation of that storm. So I don't want that to trick you into thinking that this is the storm. No, this is actually the nastier part, the potential tornado on the ground that was really looking confirmed based on everything from the National Weather Service in Morgan County, based on some things we're getting on social media as well from video. So it started in Morgan, has rolled into Scott, and then next it'll be moving north and east. So I want to change my camera view here just a little bit so it's a little easier for you to see the areas of concern. So we get up towards La Follette and we get up towards the Tennessee-Kentucky line, and that's where we're seeing that actually move north and east now. So obviously there's updates coming in here. Actually, we just put a very hyper focus on Scott County. That's definitely a concern there too, where you can see that tornado warning just focused in on that tag there, right there in the central part of Scott County. Jacob, are you seeing this as well? So that's where we're keeping an eye on that rotation.
Yeah, that's right, Heather. This is the specific part for Scott County itself. This just came out from the National Weather Service at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A confirmed large and dangerous tornado was located near Huntsville, or 11 miles southeast of Oneida, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. And they're telling you that this is a considerable tag. And of course, you need to get inside very, very quickly and into that lowest part of your basement, as Heather's been giving you the first alert to.
Yeah, so obviously I was just hyper focused on that and then zoomed back out to give you that perspective. So again, you can see what is now being called a very dangerous tornado on the ground. So we've not only now gotten confirmation in Morgan County, but now on into Scott County too, as that continues to move northeast. Meteorologist Ben Cathy is trying to show us something here, so let's check in with him now as well.
Yeah, Heather, what we're getting right now is confirmed damage pictures from Sunbright, just getting the clearance to use these. So this is from Justin Sperling, and the Schubert's funeral home right in downtown Sunbright is seeing considerable damage. You can see the side ripped off, the church, the seats inside of the funeral home. And then this building over here is seeing considerable damage. Thanks to Justin for that, getting pictures safely after the fact. You can actually see a little bit of sun here. And then the debris thrown high into these trees. Again, this just coming in, this large tree taken down. The damage in Sunbright still sending reports in, but Morgan County E911 saying, hey folks, please stay off the roads around Sunbright as this now moves towards Huntsville, and we have that considerable tag into that part of Scott County. So let's get you back to the live track because this is not over yet, Heather.
Yeah, I want to stress too when he says a considerable tag. So that's kind of some new wording the National Weather Service has started incorporating in the past couple of years. So it's kind of like putting tiers on something like a tornado. So it's something that's more kind of our inner communication as well, to say that this is a considerable tornado. This is confirmation on the ground. The damage reports Ben was just sharing. This is why that communication is so important, because you think when something like that passes one part of the community, when people can then safely share photos, and then helps to confirm the urgency as it moves east, and it updates, just like you're seeing live right now as that continues to move over into Campbell County. So we're going to tighten this up here, this view of that tornado warning. Again, we've basically been focused on the same tornado, but multiple warnings for those of you who are just joining us. This is the same tornado that spun up in Morgan County, moved across Scott, has now caused damage in both Morgan and Scott counties, is moving right over Norma at the moment. So there's that classic hook echo where it's literally rotating on itself. Those winds are bumping into each other. It's dumping 1.5 inch hail. That's considerable in and of itself. And then it's moving northeast across Campbell County. So extremely important to keep that in mind. So that's why Campbell County has been added into this tornado warning until 6:30. So we went from 6 p.m. for the cutoff for the initial tornado. Now we go until 6:30 because as of now, this is obviously a nasty tornado. We're getting more and more reports of that damage after it passes. So make sure that you're giving your loved ones a heads up. Up I-75 is the outer bands of rain and lightning. Rotation headed to I-75. Then you've also got 25W from La Follette to Jellicoe. So really what we're seeing here is that rotation cutting right here north of La Follette towards Log Mountain, towards Pruden, then in Kentucky. So if you have loved ones in this area who may not be able to watch right now or on the roads, remind them to get to a safe place away from windows. Basement is ideal, as we do have that storm continuing to move northeast now at about 35 miles per hour. So now that I'm zoomed back out, I can show you that track a little bit better, as that'll then be headed across Elk Valley here in just the next few minutes. That'll be Elk Valley about 5:56. So that'll be that leading edge. Notice there's heavy rain first and lightning, and then it'll start getting closer to that rotation. So that's what I'm trying to track, is that outer edge of where it starts to rotate, where that tornado is likely back here right at that Scott line. Habersham, that means that'll be rotating your way closer to 611. Log Mountain, tornado warning right now is until 619 and includes you in Log Mountain. Now Powell Valley to Middlesboro, you're not technically in a tornado warning yet, but this storm that has had a history of causing a lot of damage for Morgan and Scott counties is headed your way. Powell Valley about 637, 647 for Middlesboro. So extremely important to kind of keep that in mind as we have that storm over our area. Now, I wanted to show you, I mentioned the 1.5 inch hail. This is even the trail of hail the last 2 hours. So you can see where that spun up in Morgan County. So notice it started dumping hail, and then the hail got larger, and that's also where we got the reports of more damage. Then it trailed across Scott County, and now we're sitting right here at the Scott-Campbell line. So I wanted to highlight that as another piece of this. So it's obviously dropping that hail in its wake, along with rotating, along with that tornado warning that is now continuing into Campbell County. So really two different pieces there that are causing that damage in terms of the hail size being at 1.5 inches. That is definitely something that can cause damage to any vehicles outside, but also then you of course have that rotation, that tornado warning that continues into Campbell County as that continues to move northeast. Actually, Ben's getting a scan of the heart of this storm. So I want to see that rotation, Ben. If you can scan that again, I'd like for folks to be able to see kind of the inner workings of that storm.
Yeah, what we're looking at is this is just crossing into the Campbell County line. This part's subtle, but there's that black line. And again, this is moving to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. So right towards Turley and Buckeye. Folks, this is still very likely an on-the-ground tornado. It's been confirmed. So Turley, Buckeye, out towards Block. I really need you to be in your safe places. This is heading towards Terry Creek. There's a Campbell County garage right off of the highway where it goes around. They've got the Elk Crossing sign, and then right by the truck stop. If that sounds familiar, that is right on your doorstep, so you gotta be in your safe place. The terrain's having some effect on this storm, no doubt about it. Right after that, this is gonna head towards Elk Valley, Habersham, and McLeod Mountain. Again, I'm gonna take the scope off of the radar as this confirmed tornado continues right over Norma right now. You are not clear to come out of your safe place yet in Norma. This is just on the cusp of the Campbell County line, soon to pass over I-75. Block, Buckeye, Turley, towards Terry Creek. Let me zoom in tight here. And I do want to find some more local landmarks. There's Eagle Rock Resort and Campground out by the Rock. And then this is heading into the North Cumberland, where a lot of you take your ATVs. So if your friends or family are up, it's a warm day, maybe they're up on the ATVs or side by side, please let them know that this is heading into the North Cumberland WMA, and this is right about to cross over I-75. So here's the wider view of this ongoing tornado. And let me step over here because we do have that classic hook shape pushing this way at about 35 miles an hour, Elk Valley, Habersham, La Follette, and we've got more of that damaging winds heading that way. Just getting a video in, too, of the system road. You're fine, Casey, to cross. That tornado warning, Campbell and Scott, again, going until 6:30. Let's get back to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley. As a brand new scan has just come in.
Actually, super helpful here. I mentioned our team coverage. Casey Wheelis was just popping in here to let our meteorologists know that there actually now our producer is telling us as well. There are no injuries so far in Morgan County. Casey spoke to the Emergency Management Agency in Morgan County, and so far no injuries. That's extremely important. Obviously, damage reports coming in from Morgan to Scott County, But as of right now, and hopefully that stays that way, no injuries right now. Again, this is the storm that we've been focused on here as it spun up in Morgan County, dropped that hail and rotated across North Morgan into Scott and then into Campbell County. So we'll focus back in on that tornado warning as folks are continuing to check in on crews and neighbors and loved ones, just like I'm sure many of you are as well. I'm from here. I know we've got folks who work here who are even from Scott County, so kind of checking in on loved ones ourselves as this storm continues to move northeast. I'm going to track the back edge now of this storm to give you an idea of when it clears, right? I was just tracking that leading edge, so now I'm going to track the back edge. So really through Buckeye, you've got about 5 more minutes at least that you've got to stay in that safe place. If you're listening to me from, say, a bathroom, a hall, closet, just know that you've got about 5 more minutes before that back edge starts to clear you at least. So give it a little bit longer. Obviously, as noisy as it is, you'll definitely hear that indication as well. McLeod Mountain, that back edge of this tornado continues to roll across Campbell County towards McLeod Mountain about 6:20. Log Mountain about 6:30, and then that is where we're continuing into the actual warned area of Campbell County. I mean, think about that is sitting right over I-75, as I pointed out a moment ago. So hopefully no one was driving into it. That's why I was saying if you've got loved ones on the roads, give them that heads up. If you're ever on the roads, you want to make sure you're keeping an eye on conditions like this out ahead, because then this will then move across the Tennessee-Kentucky line, Powell Valley to Bell County. So Middlesboro as well is just out ahead of that. That'll be closer to 6:48. So again, a tornado warning for another 30 minutes for Campbell County coming out of Scott County right now. And do expect them. The National Weather Service has been great about updating the scans of this warning to go with the latest on that radar as that continues to move northeast over into the Kentucky line towards Claiborne County, but right now is sitting over I-75 in Campbell County. So let's go back in and zoom in on the communities. I've been doing this as it's been moving across from Morgan to Scott and now really centered up into Campbell County. So let's zoom in and give you an idea of the actual communities. Maybe you got loved ones in Campbell County, you're not sure exactly where they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep you zoomed in and I'm going to keep you focused on the communities that are at risk right now of that rotation. Terry Creek to Buckeye, this is just north of Turley to Elk Valley. So that's where that is rotating across Campbell County, across I-75 right now. That's the Scott line. So coming over into Campbell County right here at the Scott line into Elk Valley, that then moves across Stinking Creek, exit for Stinking Creek right there on I-75. Continuing to move northeast. So it's really going to fall in this trail of heavy rain and lightning that's been out ahead of it. This really was a trail of storms that started rotating on the back edge. Newcomb to Chaska to Holton to Jellicoe. That is where you're in that tornado warning again until 6:30 p.m. Campbell County, it's coming out of Scott County right now. That's why I was mentioning that lightning. The lightning indicators are starting to really back off out ahead of that tornado warning, but we're getting all indication that this is a confirmed tornado on the ground between reports from folks at home stepping out after the storm passes when it's safe to step out. So that's extremely important here that you make sure and keep that in mind as you're maybe checking on loved ones. They may not be able to get back to you just yet in North Campbell County. So again, you can see this is northwest of La Follette, big picture there as it's moving across Campbell County from into Log Mountain area next and into Kentucky further down the line. That history of a tornado, which speaking of history, Ben's keeping an eye on the path, the damage that this has already taken across parts of our area.
Yeah, Heather, we've been watching this for nearly 30 miles as this crosses right over I-75. Friends and family coming in from Kentucky or heading towards Kentucky, towards Jellicoe. Really got to be aware that this is still packing a punch, but so far seeming to be on or near the ground for the past 27 miles. Just looking at some pictures fresh in from Sunbright since the system is passed. Highway 27 remains closed, and there are some businesses off of Highway 27, including that Schubert's Funeral Home, that have some pretty good or pretty serious structural damage. So we're seeing some of those pictures I'm looking at right now, not just roofs ripped off, but bricks pulled down as well. So some serious impact from this. I'm going to take a look because we still have that strong tag or strong level, as Heather called it, the tier, as this moves towards in between La Follette and Elk Valley. Let's put a fresh track on this. Let me back it out a little bit. Royal Blue at your doorstep right now. This is near the big well-known truck stop as you head to Kentucky, McLeod Mountain near the North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area, log mounted up into central parts of Campbell County and Clearfield, and still that sign of rotation in the storm, which we are going to look at again. I'm going to readjust the view. The blues that we were watching a few minutes ago, as we go back in time, you see that blue color, that's disappeared a little bit. So the rotation seems to be weakening a little bit, but still signs of concern as we have that ongoing tornado warning until 6:30. So it's right at the top of the hour. If you're just joining us, expecting to hear about the first alert, we do have that active tornado warning for a confirmed tornado, which has caused damage. We've seen video. We've seen pictures. We're seeing Highway 27 closed. This is now right over Interstate 75 in the Campbell County area. And what's tough here is that right up here, you come around a dog leg, a big curve. And so if you're not expecting to see it, well, we're already seeing traffic slow a little bit on I-75 per the TDOT maps. But let's go back to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley as we continue to watch this ongoing tornado threat. Heather.
You can also see the trail of hail as well. So we're talking about the wind damage, the rotation from that tornado causing a lot of damage here from Morgan to Scott. So this might give you kind of a better idea too of the heart of that tornado, where it drops the hail as it literally spins down. So it kind of dumps the hail there on the backside of that system. So that's where it spun up in Morgan County, moved across Scott, and is moving into Campbell County. So I-75 right here in this little turn of Campbell County. So that's where it's sitting right now and dropping hail and again rotating. So wanted to stress that there's a couple of elements there of damage, of risk, of reasons to be lowest level of your home away from windows. Can't stress that one enough. As at least has been mentioned, the rotation is starting to weaken just a bit. Honestly, to have a confirmed tornado on the ground, a considerable tornado, meaning that intensity, the size, it's all coming together there, that 1.5 inch hail as well. So that is what's moving across North Campbell County right now, moving towards the Tennessee-Kentucky line. So let's move back down into the communities directly impacted as we continue to monitor this. That way, if you're going, okay, I know I have loved ones in Campbell County, I'm not just quite sure where they are in relation to this. So we're going to zoom in onto the northern edge of this, and then I'm going to recenter my camera for you here so you can get an idea of where we're talking. So Jellicoe's right on that north edge. So Jellicoe's at the Kentucky line. I-75 goes right through here. So that is where the north edge of that heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, and then getting down into that rotation is coming through. Holton to Chaska is up next. So that's where Newcomb to Stinking Creek to Elk Valley is really in the line of this storm as it continues to rotate down towards coming out of Terry Creek and Buckeye, but notice we're north of La Follette. So we've got an update on that tornado warning where, again, I told you the National Weather Service has been really kind of fine-tuning those edges with East Pass from Morgan to Scott and now Campbell County, from one side of Campbell County to the other. So I was just zoomed in right here, and this rotation still indicating some rotation there. Notice over I-75, up I-75 to the Kentucky line is really the outer bands of heavy rain and lightning, and then spinning up the potential, that rotation, that potential tornado still on the ground in Campbell County. But that means it still has to cross Highway 25W next. Extremely important to keep that in mind too as it continues to move northeast. So that's why we keep stressing that anybody in the path of this storm, especially with all the damage that we've seen already from Morgan to Scott, make sure that you're away from those windows. There's a reason we say that. That inner closet, inner bathroom, lowest level, away from windows. That's what's most important as the heart of this storm sits right here coming across Campbell County, north of La Follette towards McLeod Mountain. So that trail of hail shows you the path it's taking, and it's moving northeast across Campbell County towards the Kentucky line over the next hour. So that tornado warning, for those of you, again, has been mentioned 6:03 in the evening. For those of you just joining us, this is why we had that first alert weather day today. I know most of you are thinking it's quiet, but we've got this tornado, confirmed damage on the ground, Morgan County to Scott County. You can see the trail of lightning, the hail that I was just showing you as well, as that's continued to move into Campbell County. Now we still have some more storms moving up into our area, so we're not ignoring the rest of East Tennessee. It's just this is literally the storm that is causing damage It has had a history of damage and is still the point of concern, but we'll flip the switch back to the rest of our area as this storm continues to move northeast and starts to decrease in that intensity just a bit slowly over the next few minutes. I want to track the back edge from the literal rotation there on the back edge to the Tennessee-Kentucky line as that moves northeast at 35 miles per hour. So that'll actually get you to move towards Log Mountain on the back edge of this storm by 6:33. So right at the end of the tornado warning. So it's going to take 30 minutes for it to get from one side of Campbell County to the other with some of the bands of heavy rain and lightning out ahead of it. Habersham closer to 6:26, then Log Mountain 6:30, crossing over into the Kentucky line there. Yellow Creek 6:56 to Middlesboro around 7:02. So that would then be a storm that has had a history of causing all of this damage. So again, an active tornado warning versus the watches that we had in place for our area as a whole. So zoomed back out so you can see what I mean in terms of the storms that have been moving across the plateau to now the Tennessee-Kentucky line, that tornado warning in Campbell County. And we're starting to get some rain to scoot up into the southern plateau and do expect more storms to come up into the southern valley. So we're not done yet. That's why we had our WVLT First Alert Weather Day going until midnight, knowing that some outer bands would hit the plateau to the Tennessee-Kentucky line first, and then more would be filing in for the rest of our area. So right now we do have that confirmed tornado. Morgan to Scott County, sitting over Campbell County right now, La Follette to Log Mountain. So notice it's north of La Follette and it's moving northeast. So if you've got loved ones in La Follette, they're south of it. If they're north of La Follette now, you're talking right into that edge of the storm. So let's zoom back in on those communities impacted here in the heart of that storm, as this is usually a much better indication as we get down to neighborhoods even to give you a better idea of exactly what we're talking here. So that's where we have the heart of that storm sitting over here just east of Stanville. You can see that just coming across I-75 right now, coming down into Campbell County here now until 6:30. Habersham, Peabody is east, so we're moving northeast here closer to Habersham in Campbell County. Now, know you've got some heavy rain and frequent lightning at the moment already in Stinking Creek, and then you've got that rotation coming up on the tail end of these downpours and storms closer to Chaska as well, with that ongoing tornado warning into North Campbell County over the next half an hour. Newcomb, you're included in this warning and definitely into that path of that rotating storm there towards Holton and Highcliffe, Oswego. Now we're getting it to the Tennessee-Kentucky line. So right now you're not technically included in that tornado warning, but just want to stress that you would be in that path as we're now kind of hyper-focused on those communities in the heart of that storm. So you've got the heavy rain, the frequent lightning, the 1.5 inch hail. That's been one of the indications that's been confirmed even on the ground as it spun up in Morgan County, moved across Scott, and now is sitting in Campbell County. So extremely important to keep that in mind if you or loved ones are in Campbell County, headed towards Campbell County, especially with I-75, just trying to drive through it. You would want to make sure that you can give your loved ones a heads up if they're on the road to stop at La Follette. But if they're headed north, stop before Jellicoe if you're coming through Whitley County as well. I know we have viewers in southeastern Kentucky, plus we have 25W.
Do we have Heather's mic again? Okay, well, we're going to take a wide view here of the ongoing tornado threat. Highway 27 continues to be closed in Morgan County, at Sunbright, as there's some structural damage throughout much of downtown. The good news from our news crew is that they've confirmed no injuries from Sunbright. All right. Okay. We're back on Max 2. So let me show you the wide view here as this is ongoing, heading well into it. I just got with TDOT letting us know what kind of potential damage there is on I-75, because according to the TDOT map, there's a substantial slowdown near Norma, near Royal Blue, with those high-profile semi-trucks. That could definitely be some concern. So let's put a fresh track on this if you're just joining us. McLeod Mountain at 617, Log Mountain right after that. Confirmed tornado, confirmed damage, and this is continuing out towards Powell Valley. Good news from the Roane County Emergency Manager. He says no injuries. This is brand new. Morgan County and Sunbright and Deer Lodge. Some structural damage, though, with tree and power lines. So that's also for the newsroom. Let's get an update on the tornado warning, which you saw there. This is going to tell you what you need to know, and have that plan in place. You got to get to the lowest level of your home, and that white border on this tells us that this is at a higher end of a tornado warning. So far, this has been something we've tracked for more than 30 miles. Let's see, they're continuing this for Campbell as this moves northeast at 35 until 6:30. Ping-pong sized hail is possible in this storm. This one cell does have a history of that. Meanwhile, I know a lot of you are saying, well, what about my neighborhood? Well, this is the lone system in our region. This is a discrete supercell, but we're not done, because all this stuff near Huntsville, Alabama, and Columbia, Tennessee, up towards Jamestown is something we're going to have to watch. And then, folks, if you're out in Jamestown or Grimsley, this next system is already producing a pretty nasty sign on the back. There's no warning on that yet. This is the one that has a warning in Campbell County. Again, we're going to put a track on this as this moves to the northeast at about 35. Cotulla, 619, Log Mountain, and Powell Valley. What I really like to do is kind of get in here as this moves through the North Cumberland, the Sunquist unit. So nearby is the Stinking Creek ATV campground, the Rock Ridge Resort at Royal Blue, and then on the way to the Hatfield Knob Viewing Tower. This is on the north side of La Follette. So La Follette itself, right before you get to the big bluff, you're okay, but Log Mountain, I need you in your safe place. Same thing for the Duff community over towards Clay Gap. That's inside the WMA, that wildlife management area. And folks in the back, just give us an update about what's happening with our technology here. But again, active tornado warning for Campbell County till 6:30. We've got reports of damage throughout Sunbright. Okay, let's get over to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley to see what she is tracking with this confirmed tornado.
Yes, obviously we're going to continue to keep an eye on this as we've got that lightning as well centered up over North Campbell County. And again, that tornado warning moving across North Campbell County. So again, considerable, meaning the damage potential is greater. We've got confirmation on the ground. We've got a trail of damage left behind this tornado from Morgan to Scott and now Campbell County. So right now that does expire in about 15 minutes. Right now, I would also guesstimate that they're going to continue at least a severe warning Campbell to Middlesboro. Right here, we're crossing into different National Weather Service offices, so know they're communicating with each other as well as that storm continues across North Campbell County, continuing to move northeast. So let's get back into the communities, really kind of hyper-focused on the folks that are being directly impacted by this. I know a viewer just commented on my Facebook page that he's in Habersham, hoping everybody is being careful and staying safe out there. So when we zoom in on the heart of that tornado on the ground, you can see those outer bands of heavy rain hitting Tackett Creek to Holton to Chaska, Habersham. As I mentioned, we've got a viewer I know that just commented on my Facebook page as well. Now, Log Mountain, you're not getting that heavy rain, but notice that is rotating near you. So that's where you're going to get this to kind of skirt right along north of Russell Fork and north of Log Mountain and move northeast across really into Claiborne County and into Kentucky. So monitoring the track of that storm, the rotation here just south of Stinking Creek, southwest of Habersham. So that's spinning up right now into Habersham, northwest of Russell Fork, outside of McLeod Mountain is where we're centered up here in the heart of that tornado. So we're getting those confirmation reports of damage on the ground, an 1.5 inch hail, and of course, again, a confirmed tornado on the ground from Morgan to Scott, and now sitting over Campbell County for 15 more minutes with that active tornado warning. So a lot happening here for this part of our area on this WVLT First Alert Weather Day. You can see that hail track continuing on into Campbell County, so monitoring that for you, and then monitoring the storms that still have yet to move up into the rest of our area. So these are those storms that we were telling you about starting that First Alert Weather Day at 5 o'clock, moving across the plateau to the Tennessee-Kentucky line as we're right on track now. And then more storms will drag across the rest of East Tennessee. So that's why our First Alert Weather Day continues until midnight. So make sure you have a way that you can stay informed, because in a situation like this where you've got hail moving across an area, where you've got a confirmed tornado on the ground, or just a strong to severe storm. I say just, but a lot of folks like to kind of count those out. If we've got the potential for damage, there's a risk to life and property. And so that's what's most important. And that's why we've been on the air now for really just covering this storm since it started in Morgan County in the 5 o'clock hour. So right now we have that tornado warning again until 6:30 for Campbell County. So I've zoomed back out so you can kind of see the edge of it coming over into Kentucky, moving northeast. I want to track the back edge of this, that kind of final rotation as it moves northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So obviously we're going beyond the warning, but that also means that a storm that has had a history of being a tornado, that has had a history of causing a lot of damage, and 1.5 inch hail, is still headed towards Clearfield to Middlesboro to Pineville. But right now, coming across Campbell County first, Habersham, now over the next 10 minutes before that storm kind of clears your neck of the woods, the back edge there. Log Mountain about 6:33. That'll be in Clearfield, then going towards the Claiborne County line. That'll be right around 6:40, and then over towards Middlesboro about 7:07. So watching that crossover into Kentucky at that point as we continue to monitor this. Of course, for you viewers in southeastern Kentucky, this is still our coverage area. Whitley County, Bell County, Knox County, Kentucky right here to give you guys some perspective on where we're looking. We're at the Tennessee-Kentucky line here into Campbell County as that storm is rotating towards Log Mountain, or really just kind of tracking north of it as it moves northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So obviously seeing those indication of hail, of that rotation on the ground, and that has both been causing damage for areas like Morgan and Scott now into Campbell County. So make sure you're using caution, because that includes I-75 and 25W, and then we have more rain and storms still coming up into the southwestern part of our area. Crossville, you got some rain right now, so that perspective is very different in terms of this tornado that has had a history of damage from Morgan to Scott and now Campbell County. So we continue to keep an eye on everything headed our way as well. That's why we've got the team coverage, so I can focus on this here. And meteorologist Jacob Durham is keeping an eye on any of your damage reports as well, sending you messages from the WVLT First Alert Weather app. And then, of course, Ben Kathy here as well, keeping an eye on these storms as we kind of analyze that for you. And it moves northeast at 35 miles per hour. So I'm going to track kind of the northern edge then of that storm. So leading edge of that rotation, I just tracked the back edge, meaning when it would exit. So that's going to keep tracking across Clearfield at 6:26. So right there at the edge of that warning box as well is where that is crossing over into Clearfield at about 6:26. Middlesboro about 6:50 to Oaks about 7:15, Pineville about 7:06, for example. So these storms continue to move northeast still at a pretty good pace. It has slowed down quite a bit from when it first spun up, rotated in Morgan County, and then caused that damage moving across Scott County and now northeast Campbell County. For another 10 more minutes, we are in this tornado warning for northeast Campbell County, a history of causing damage in Scott as well as Morgan County. So let's zoom back in on the communities that are affected here in case you're trying to check in on loved ones, in case you're trying to hit the road for the end of your work day and you're trying to figure out where is it safe to navigate at this point. So I wanted to just zoom in here. As you can see, that edge moving across Holton, Chaska, spinning around towards Tackett Creek. So that is where that is starting to spin towards you in terms of this storm, down towards Habersham, sitting right over Habersham now, moving out of Stinking Creek and Russell Fork. So that back edge of that rotation here moving northeast as it cuts north of Log Mountain, moves closer to the Claiborne County line. So that's where Clearfield, you're not included in a warning, but in the very least you've had a storm headed your way that's had a history of causing damage. Pearl, you would be one of those towns as well to use caution. Jacob Durham's trying to get my attention.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, you're talking about Claiborne County
Yeah.
there, and you're not included in that tornado warning at the moment. We've kind of talked about it in the Weather Service chat. They're just evaluating it over the next scan or two,
Got it.
kind of giving that idea of kind of where they're thinking the storm is doing, at least in terms of its life cycle, if it's recycling or kind of fizzling out. So that's just a quick update.
And thank you, Jacob. And you can see the scan going by. So that's what he means by that scan. So that sweep of the radar is literally scanning the storm from top to bottom. So that's how we can get an assessment of where it's rotating. That's why sometimes you'll see these colors shift a bit as it's tracking that rotation, those winds hitting into each other, that spin up, that 1.5 inch hail. So that's what's then rotating across Habersham to Tackett Creek right now to Holton, just north of Log Mountain. So the fresh scan comes through, and that's why the colors enhance. So you can see that's why they just refreshed the tornado warning, kind of tightened it up there a bit. Again, we do have that active tornado warning for North Campbell County right now, continuing to move northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So really what they've done is just fine tune the edges of that warning for Campbell County at the moment, and for 10 more minutes as well. So that's where, as always, you want to make sure you're getting to the lowest level of your home, away from windows, using those safety precautions, knowing where you would go ahead of time, whether that's a bathroom or a hall closet or a basement. If you've got a basement, that's usually your best bet, but away from windows is very important too, as we've seen a lot of flying debris from the viewer videos and photos that have been sent in so far. And that's something to do after the fact. Make sure it's safe to go out and assess the damage and then share it, because that's how we're able to then tell folks like this, Holton, Tackett Creek, Chaska, Habersham, to say this has had a history of causing this damage. We've seen debris thrown in trees way up high. We've seen a part of a funeral home. The wall was literally ripped off of a building. You could see inside of the building. So those are those images that we get, and we can confirm the damage, the history here with this active tornado warning for 9 more minutes for Campbell County, Holton to Tackett Creek, and Chaska. Again, you're kind of right in the heart of it. Meteorologist Ben Cathy is kind of scanning the inner workings of this storm. Like Jacob was saying, they're scanning it at the Weather Service as well. So let's take a look at what we're seeing in terms of that rotation, Ben.
Yeah, Heather, we're seeing a little bit less rotation, which is good news because this is something we've been tracking for nearly 40 miles. We're also seeing the backup on I-75 as this cross largely leaving, but I want to move this box a little bit to the left. And by the way, we did just get a new report of tornado damage around New River. So let's go back in time, and you'll see even some blue colors out here as this moves towards moved towards Norma. So a lot of that worst rotation was near Sunbright, Norma, and Highway 27 does remain closed. That was in the past. Let's take you into the future with a live look as this moves right over Log Mountain. We've been first alerting you to Log Mountain for more than an hour now, or very close to an hour. Habersham, it's right on your doorstep, and then heading towards the Clearfield area. There's also been some debris that's left behind north of the center of circulation, which is right here. You can kind of see it looks like a fish hook. That area pushing north. But what we've seen is debris left on the top end of that. So Holton, don't be surprised if there's some debris flying through the air. Let's talk about some of the smaller communities. Westbourne, Cotulla, you've got to be in your safe places still. We'll give you the all clear. But over towards Log Mountain, Anthrace, and then over into Clearfield, right? That is into Claiborne County. Now, technically, you are not in the warning, but the center of circulation is about 5 miles. So I would be surprised if there's not at least some debris that ends up in Claiborne County. So we got a brand new update to the tornado warning. Let me look here and see what that brand new update is. That is, well, there it is. It's just reissued for Claiborne County. So as soon as I say it's not there, and now it's re-updated till 7:15. Now, they have this bending more to the east. What we've seen is actually it's really been taking more of a due northeast track. So I'm going to draw my track to match what we've seen a little bit more of. So that is this direction. Clearfield 632. And a reminder that Anthrace and Westbourne, you're not showing up on the track, but you're in the immediate path out towards Fondy at 642. Middlesboro, which we've been first alerting you to at the Cumberland Gap. LMU, Harrogate, you're in that warning. Out towards Schwati at 704, and then TJ by 722. So let's look back inside the storm. First, I want to see if there's any debris left up in the air. There's a little bit of a drop near Log Mountain, but nothing too substantial. But there is definitely some more broad rotation. And because this does have a history of producing damage going back quite a way, so let's show you how long this has been something we're watching. Exactly 40 miles. So this is a long track. I first alerted you the past few days that if tornadoes form, they could be a long track. Let's see. Yeah, no injuries. That's what the emergency managers are telling us so far. That is good news, though Highway 27 remains closed. And I-75 is back to speed after this tornado warned system crossed over. There is a little bit of tightening here the last couple of minutes. So let's put a brand new track. I'm going to zoom this all the way to the left as this moves to the northeast at about 35 miles an hour. So that's pretty close. Again, Clearfield, Ponza, Harrogate, and then I'm going to leave the track up, but what I'm going to do is look at some of the smaller areas here. So Habersham right now, that's 25W. There is Beaver Dam Campground out towards the Reds General Store. That is off of Little White Oak Road, a local landmark there. White Oak as well over towards Morley and in the Log Mountain community. Now past that, we've got the Halls and Log Mountain Cemetery over towards Egan. Again, that doesn't show up necessarily in the market, but the Egan Market right by the post office, you want to be in your safe places right now. Clearfield, that is right off of Clear Fork and Highway 90. You want to be in your safe places. You see Clearfield right there at the top. Again, if you're just joining us, waiting on national news, we're going to cover this tornado warning till it is, what's that, Will? Okay, let's get back to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley.
Hey there, we continue to keep an eye, obviously, on this active tornado warning. So I wanted to highlight some of the variation, too, with not only a rotating storm, but that hail. It's now getting closer to back to a 1 inch, so we're still seeing the rotation, of course, with the ongoing tornado warning right over Log Mountain, moving northeast. So zooming out here and tracking the back edge of that storm, moving north-northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So that means it's rolling across Clearfield, and you are now included in that warning with the expansion of Claiborne County. So this is a storm that has obviously had a history of damage. So we're now showing you that comparison of where it has been, the damage it has caused, and then where it is now. So again, we are in a tornado warning for Campbell County, but this is video from Morgan County earlier. So this is when it first spun up, and this is where they started seeing that rotation. So you can see it literally spinning by there in your video and on the left side of your screen, and that's what started in Morgan County, where we started getting confirmation of damage. Luckily, Morgan County EMA told Casey Wheelis no injuries. I hope that stays that way right now. But that's where you can see that storm literally rotating across Morgan County. And we also got some damage reports from Scott County, I believe. I know in the back they're keeping an eye on all of these different damage reports that have come in. So we've got these different sources of folks who were able to safely, after the fact, get outside. So right now, if you're in northeast Campbell County, Claiborne County to Bell, it is not safe, obviously, to get outside. You're in an active tornado warning. We've got that highlight here of the more concerning part of that storm right now over Log Mountain, northeast Campbell County. So you're seeing some of the images now of the damage that was caused. This was a funeral home. Remind me in the back here, was this in Scott County? Where this funeral home, this was in Morgan as well. Okay, thank you. Schubert Funeral Home in Morgan County, to be exact. But you can see the back wall just ripped off, debris thrown into the trees. So something to keep in mind as we continue to monitor this storm, as it has caused damage from Morgan to Scott and now sits in northeast Campbell County, moving into Claiborne and moving into southeastern Kentucky. So if we can come back to the radar full, I want to show you where we do have now what is the National Weather Service in southeastern Kentucky saying a severe thunderstorm warning. So they're using this same storm and saying they think that rotation is moving on. So they're really kind of putting it into that severe thunderstorm warning. Obviously, it's had a history of damage. We were just showing you that history. Morgan to Scott to Campbell County. So then as it crosses over into Bell County, coming up towards Middlesboro. That's where they've reclassified it as a severe thunderstorm. So that's where that northern edge here, they're calling a severe thunderstorm warning for Bell County. And then we have that tornado warning for Claiborne County. And then coming in that far northeast corner now of Campbell County. So important to keep that in mind as that continues to move northeast at about 35 miles per hour. I showed you those images there. So this is where we started with the rotation in Morgan County. The hail line shows you the path this is taken. This is where the National Weather Service will go out and assess the damage as well to confirm all of the impacts from this particular long track storm. So that is where it's moved up to the Tennessee-Kentucky line. And then we have more rain and storms still moving up for those of you watching or just joining us going, okay, where are we? We've been monitoring this storm from Morgan to Scott to Campbell to Claiborne, severe thunderstorm warning Bell County, and then we have these storms still moving up into the rest of our area. So that's where that trail of that storm has moved northeast and now sits coming out of Campbell. You can see the heart of that rotation here. So I want to zoom out just a bit so I can track that for you a little bit better, because right now it's kind of zoomed in so tight I can't track that for you. So that is going to continue to move northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So that is where we're continuing to keep an eye on this storm crossing over into southeastern Kentucky. So that is extremely important to keep that in mind with more storms moving up into our area. Right now we have that severe thunderstorm to tornado warning right there on that line of Claiborne County versus Bell County. So that's where we're monitoring that for you. As we continue to track this, I want to get a live track for you to show you exactly where that is headed. Moving northeast at 35 miles per hour does put it just beyond the severe thunderstorm warning box for Bell County, but that does mean that it is dragging really at least some rotation history and history of hail as well towards Middlesboro at 7 o'clock, and to Shawnee closer to 7:06 and Path Fork 7:30. So it's cutting across that northwest corner of Claiborne County over the next few minutes. So that's where we have that active tornado warning still in this history of damage that has been moving from Morgan to Scott to now Campbell County. So keep that in mind. That tornado warning does continue for really until 7:15 now is that latest update for that northwest corner of Claiborne County as it moves over into Kentucky as well. So I do expect them to kind of tighten up this box as it's moved from Campbell into Claiborne and moves along that Tennessee-Kentucky line. So that's where we're keeping an eye on any damage reports that may be still coming in now that it has started to clear most of Campbell County, right at that line there from Campbell to Claiborne, coming over into Bell County. So let's zoom in on those communities affected so you can get an idea of your home, your loved ones, kind of where you are in perspective to this. So right here we're looking at Holton to Clairfield to Fondy. Notice we're west of Bryson Mountain. So as we continue to zoom in a little bit tighter here at the Tennessee-Kentucky line, then we can continue to keep an eye on these communities in the heart of this storm coming east of Holton out of Campbell County. Again, this is the back edge of this rotation at Clairfield to Hamlintown. That is in Claiborne County. So then you cross over into Bell County, into Fondy, cross over into Whitley County. So that's actually Whitley County right there in Kentucky. So that's where it's crossing over as well in that far southeastern corner of Whitley County. And then moving closer to Armida as it moves northeast, Pearl at the Bell-Whitley line, continuing to move northeast again. That's where Knox, Kentucky, Bell County, Whitley County included in the severe thunderstorm warning until 7. So obviously looking at this from different perspectives with the National Weather Service office, we still have that rotation, that active tornado warning with a long track history of causing damage. Seeing a fresh scan kind of there, that's that box I was saying could be tightened up there. So that's where they have kind of really scaled that back better to that northwest corner of Claiborne County. Still seeing some indication of hail though out of that storm. So again, to get kind of a close look on that tornado warning that is now hyper focused in on northwest Claiborne County. A little easier to see that there. Clairfield to the Bell County line is where we're coming out of Campbell into Claiborne, crossing over into Bell County. So tornado warning, northwest Claiborne, severe thunderstorm warning for Bell County at the moment. So that rotation is at least starting to decrease as well. I showed you that hail indication. But remember, with really even severe storms, the better idea is still to get away from windows in the lowest level of your home because of wind speeds. But in this case, this has also had that history of rotation. So always the best bet, lowest level of your home away from windows, whether it's a severe thunderstorm or a tornado warning. We have both. Same storm cell spinning up, but at least starting to decrease in that intensity of that spin as it moves towards the Kentucky line. So we're continuing to monitor that storm here, seeing those hail indications start to back off just a bit as it crosses over into Kentucky right now. So a little easier to see that there as that final little bit is in northwest Claiborne County and moving over into Bell County at the moment. So we're continuing to monitor this storm here as it crosses over into Bell County. So I'll recenter my camera here just a bit so you can better see really all of the pieces and parts of this storm now as it moves up into more of Bell County, really over towards Fondy, northwest of Middlesboro. So it's kind of scooting along northern part of town. I know I've navigated, there's a lot of back roads in the hills of southeastern Kentucky that kind of twist and turn. So it'd be very dangerous to be on the roads. In any active storm, of course, it's hard enough, but especially one with a history of damage like this one has had in terms of the history of that tornado on the ground, as well as the hail that this has created in our area. Again, that was from Morgan to Scott, now crossing from Claiborne County over into Bell County, Kentucky. So continue to monitor that. Meteorologist Ben Cathy is standing by. I know he's been keeping an eye on this storm as well. Ben, what you got right now?
Yeah, effectively, Campbell County's in the clear. I know you're still in the warning technically, but the system has really fully moved into Kentucky now. So I would imagine within the next 1 or 2 minutes, the tornado warning for Clearfield will be dropped, as this is really bending more towards the northeast or the northwest side of Middlesboro. We're also getting new pictures in as we head in towards Kentucky. And I was just speaking with Ted Hall, who says we're mapping out where the damage has been at Sunbright. That's really been the bullseye right along Highway 27, which does remain closed. Again, the tornado warning is really, or the tornado threat, I should say, and the severe thunderstorm warning is really just in southeastern Kentucky. And there you go. You see live on your screen that tornado warning is now dropped many minutes ahead of schedule. We just have the only warning right now, severe thunderstorm warning, till 7 o'clock for Bell, Knox, and Whitley County. Again, the immediate threat of tornado is now gone. We have this cell that I've been watching carefully right around the Pall Mall or Pall Mall area. We've heard a couple different pronunciations over the past week. I do want to put a track on this, and both are probably right, but both heading into Fentress County. So this is moving to the northeast at about 35. This, if we get a new warning, will probably be the cell. So Wolf River 540, Cooperative, and then over towards Ravello by 735. If you're wondering, I've seen a lot of comments on my Facebook page. Hey, what about Knoxville? What about Union County? What about other counties? Well, it's all down here. So this stuff near Huntsville still has to move our direction later on tonight. So we're not in the clear. That was just the first of more storms. And again, we have the one that we're watching. There is a ongoing tornado threat near Bowling Green, Kentucky. But what we're looking at right now is a lone severe thunderstorm warning. And a lot of the rotation has gone from the Bell, Knox, and Whitley County, Kentucky. We've been following this cell for about 50 miles. Are we going to go to Jacob next, or are we going to go to Heather next? Okay, let's go to meteorologist Jacob Durham with some brand new pictures of the damage.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Of course, Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley and Meteorologist Ben Cathy have been giving you this update on this tornado-warned storm as it moved through portions of Morgan, Scott, and into portions of Campbell and Claiborne counties as well. And here's a couple of those pictures that we're seeing of some, looks like shrapnel just kind of twisted apart. That's just kind of the nature of how strong these winds are. We also have some downed trees. You can see these, what looks to be maybe some roofing just kind of picked up off the tops of metal roofing and just kind of thrown around and then back into that fence as well. You can see as we go through, this is from the Sunbright community there where we did have that confirmed tornado per the National Weather Service. You do have some snapped trees as well. Now, thankfully, all the tornado warnings have been allowed to be canceled, at least for now. We still do have that severe thunderstorm warning that we are tracking, but we are continuing to get in these damage pictures from different viewers. Thank you for sending those in. Once it is safe to do so, if you do have those pictures, we'd love to see those, of course, of the damage that may be happening in your community. But for now, we'll pitch it back over to Chief Meteorologist Heather Haley.
Yeah, and remember just to stay safe out there. Be extra cautious. Again, we do have now a severe thunderstorm warning. This has degraded a lot in intensity, but it is still whipping some winds and some smaller hail. So not at that same level that it was from Morgan to Scott to Campbell and Northwest Claiborne. So now we do have that final severe thunderstorm warning right now until 7 p.m. So we'll continue to monitor things for you behind the scenes, give you a little bit of a break. We're going to step back and monitor things behind the scenes, as well as check on our neighbors here in East Tennessee that have already dealt with those severe storms. That tornado again on the ground from Morgan to Scott to Campbell, but we're also going to continue to keep an eye on the storms that are still headed this way, like Ben was just showing you. So we will continue to keep you updated through the WVLT First Alert Weather app. We'll be back on for WVLT News at 7. As always, stay informed to stay safe on this WVLT First Alert Weather Day.